Hello everyone. So this topic recently came up about editors and whether or not you should credit your editors. And I think this is an important topic because a lot of photographers are starting to use editors more nowadays, and so it's a really important topic to broach. We're going to get in there and check this out, and we're going to compare it to the world of fashion and how they handle it and what I think you should do for this. I think the first thing we need to do is look at sort of an analogous situation in the fashion world and the retouching world where, cosmetics and all that. There are really good retouchers out there, and what these photographers do is they'll set up a shoot in their studio or whatever, and they'll do a headshot or whatever, maybe it's for Revlon or whoever, right? And so they do the shoot, and then what they do is they send their images out to a retoucher, a really good retoucher, and at that point, I've had a little bit of experience in this realm. But what will happen a lot of times is the retoucher will then reach out to the photographer and say, look, this is a collaboration. Am I going to be able to use these photographs in my portfolio and on social media after the project is done? Because since it's a collaboration, right? And so at that point, as far as I'm concerned, any photographer that says no to that request is sort of, I won't use too strong a word here, but I just don't think that's right to do that, okay? It's definitely a collaboration. The retoucher should definitely be able to use those photos to market his business because, that product they produce is definitely a collaboration. And I also think it's sort of disingenuous when photographers have these full portfolios full of images that they didn't retouch themselves in the fashion world. So, they're putting this work up there. They're kind of saying, here's my work, here's what I do. And you never hear them say a peep or give any credit to a retoucher ever. I think that's sort of, I think that's really dubious behavior, okay? I don't think that's the greatest way to handle things anymore. That may have been okay in the past for whatever reason, but nowadays I think it's a lot better to credit the retoucher. The way you'll see a lot of these photographers handling it is they'll just, whenever anybody asks them, they'll say, yeah, I have a retoucher, it's great, here's his name, and that's great. I think if you're really obviously out in the public with your retoucher, every time somebody asks you a question about your retoucher, you tell them, you wouldn't have to, at least in my book, you wouldn't have to necessarily list the retoucher's name on your website, right? As long as people are vocal about this and obviously out in the open and transparent, I think it's really kosher and everything's cool. But what the big problem I have nowadays is these people who are just sort of trying to act like it's all their own work. I just don't think that's the right way to go about things for a lot of different reasons. If we think about this, it just makes sense for both the photographer and the retoucher to sort of be, telling everyone this was a collaboration. Let's just look at it from the photographer's side. Well, there's a retoucher out there now, and he's showing you all these photos on on social media, on his Instagram website, whatever, and the photographer's credited, right? So that's going to get more views for the photographer. People are going to be clicking over the photographer's website, whatever. It's just a plus plus. I don't see how it impacts the photographer negatively in any way. It's a collaboration. I even think it's great for the photographer to put it on his invoice as a line item. That might also show the clients that, hey, this guy, he's using this really, high-end retoucher. It costs a lot, and that's who's handling our, facial features of our model, and that's a really good selling point for the photographer. So it's a win-win all the way around for the photographer, and I wouldn't see why you wouldn't want to do that. The only reasons I can see that you wouldn't want people to know about your retouchers are sort of nefarious reasons. So what does all this mean for real estate photographers or, interiors photographers? Well, for your average job, to be honest, I personally don't use a retoucher, so it's hard for me to talk. I've never used one, but if you're doing if you're having your photos sent out to a retoucher and you're sending them off to your client, you know, no big deal. That's fine. You know, the retoucher's getting work, he's happy. Now, if the retoucher happened to ask you one day, can I use this work on my website to show people, you know, maybe the before and after, I think it would be definitely in your interest, and not only in your interest, but it would just kind of sort of, for lack of a better way to say it, make you a better person. Yes, of course they can use that. And I don't think a lot of the interiors retouchers are asking this nowadays, but if they do happen to start, I think it's a good answer to give them. Yes, go ahead, absolutely. This was a collaboration between you and I. Second, again, I don't know how many people are actually, like, for example, using retouched photos they send out, you know, to Vietnam or wherever in their portfolio. But if you are doing that, if you're actually putting, you know, yours and their collaborative work in your portfolio, I definitely think you should be open and honest about, you know, communicating that, yeah, I had so-and-so retoucher do this. For all the reasons we talked about with the fashion industry, it's the same reasons for you, okay? It should be a collaborative effort, and it's sort of a plus in all respects, in my opinion. You know, you might get more kind of people coming back to your website because they saw your work on the retoucher's website and what have you. So I can't see any reason why you're not going to be transparent with this. I think it makes you look sort of bad personally if you're not. And that's definitely the way I think you should be handling this, okay? Just be more transparent about it and on the up and up. If your clients are happy, they're gonna be happy anyway, so I don't think there's any problems at all. All right, so thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys next time.